Matt Leisure Slumber.
Oh, Merit Leisure's back. Yeah, it's not great.
Were we gonna talk about that?
No, we're not going to talk about. We're not going to talk about that.
It's no permanence.
No, we're not going to talk about that.
There's no permanent like snow permanence.
Hey guys, I'm Ryan, aka Deathrite Squid, and I'm joined as always by Caius Guy. How you doing, dude?
I'm good. I'm excited. I'm excited to talk about Modern Horizons.
Me too.
That's good.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Modern Horizons.
Nah, I got Caius Guy on the screen. I have to change it back to Archmage's Charm for continuity purposes.
That's fine.
I'm leaving this in. How have you been? What have you been up to? What's been going on?
Well, I just went to Modern. I went to Modern.
Just went to Modern.
I went to Modern Horizons spoilers, and I found some stuff, and we're going to talk about that stuff.
Oh, I went to Melbourne.
That's what's going to happen.
That was
I went
good.
to Melbourne too.
I
We
know you
talked
did.
about Modern at Melbourne.
I was there with you.
Talking about Modern.
Yep, we're there now.
Oh my goodness.
No, there's a video medium. They can tell I'm not actually there. Well, maybe they don't know where I am. We're there now.
We're broadcasting from an undisclosed location, discussing the issues with certain game company.
Ooh, are we talking about card quality? Is that one of the issues?
Cards. I don't know. Are you now? When you say card quality, do you mean the quality of the cardboard, or do you mean the power level of certain cards in certain formats? Because there are some doozies.
I'm talking about the cardboard.
Okay.
And there are some doozies, that is for sure.
There are some doozies. From the vault,
Ooh.
stop it.
What about Ixalan?
Oh, the faded.
Oh, they've had some awful runs recently, but
Also had some pretty fantastic ones.
but the good ones are the Japanese ones.
Yes.
So, like, if you look at Ultimate Masters and Battle Bond, Modern Horizons is also printed on that same Japanese cardstock. So, yeah, that's good. The foils are flat.
Cardstock.
Well, it's over there. I'm over here. But I've got some foils that I opened yesterday, right?
Yeah.
From Modern Horizons, and they are sitting on my table over there, and it has been about 18 hours, and they are still flat. Like, they came
Really?
out of the pack flat, and they are still flat. And I'm pretty impressed. Like, if that was War of the Spark, they would have, like, turned into little cylinders by now.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, this has been a problem for a while now. Now, a lot of people have mentioned it. And Wizards actually came out yesterday. They put an article out talking about the card quality, which is kind of why I brought it up. And they mentioned that they were using this new Japanese printer. And you can tell, like, the difference in quality is huge. I'm actually going to grab a card. Hang on a sec.
Don't forget to press like and subscribe for more dead air.
Oh, hello.
Hello. You're gonna edit out that pause, right?
Where I get up and walk away. No, I'm going to leave that in. I hear that people like that.
No, I filled the dead air
What'd you
by
do?
telling people to like and subscribe for more dead air.
Oh, nice. All right, well, I've got some cards here. I have an Ingenious Infiltrator. This is a Modern Horizons card. Pack fresh. That's been on the table for about 18 hours. Obviously, this is more for the people watching rather than you. Obviously, you can't see this.
Yeah, cool.
That's pretty flat, right? And that's a non-foil. I also have a Nicol Bolas Dragon God. And he's not too bad. Like, this guy's been out for about the same time. But there's a definite curl to that card that you can see. And then when we go over to the foils, it gets even more, like, ridiculous. But I have here, this is a Pack Fresh. Look how flat that is. This is a Pack Fresh foil Force of Negation. Right? And this has, again, been on the table for, look how flat that is, for, 18 hours. And then I've got a Soul Diviner, which is from War of the Spark. It's pretty much the same amount of time, and that has a definite curve to it. So they've definitely done better, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, it's good. I think it's important if people spend more time talking about things like this as well.
Yeah.
Because you can spend so much time saying, "Oh, Wizards really screwed this up," or whatever, and it doesn't give them anything to go by. It's just okay, we just shouldn't do that. But if we then turn around and say, "Wow, look at the quality of these Modern Horizons cards," and we really put that out there, then they're a lot more likely to go, well, that worked. That was fantastic. Let's do it for core 2020 or return to New Phyrexia.
We're banking on that. We
Because
want that so
going.
bad.
We're not going anywhere else.
If you say it enough, it'll come true, right?
I think they've actually said we're going to some Norse mythology set, which is fine. I like Norse mythology, but like, please stop this.
Does that mean more snow matters? Is that
Khan talked about where he was going?
Nah, no one cares about that anymore. I only care about snow now. More chiller pillars. I demand more chiller pillars. I want to know the story of that guy.
I want more Mir. You
can have frozen Mir. That's fine. Mir can exist in the snow. Frosty Mir taps for snow. Perfect, right? Well, if we go to a Norse world, 100% we get snow again, right?
Hopefully, that'd be really cool.
What about fetchable snow dual lands? Ooh. Like, there's some really cool stuff, and we'll get onto the new, like, the snow matter stuff in the in Horizons in a bit. But like those decks, there seems to be almost a deck there, but that's one of the big things that's missing, is to have more relevant snow permanents that you just put into play, and snow duels would be absolutely fantastic. Like something along the lines, we can get, a full cycle of 10 would be great, but like even if we just got enemy or allied, and you have them, similar to like the Battle for Zendikar lands where there's a condition, and so they enter the battlefield tapped. Yeah, so you get enemy ones that enter the battlefield tapped unless you control, 3 snow permanents is probably fine. I think that'd be a cool way to do it. And that way, you don't get them on turn 1, but if you do want them, they're there. A little bit disappointed that the Prismatic Vista? Whatever it was, the fetch for basics wasn't a snowland itself. I think that would have been kind of cool too. Make like a thawing Vista, so it's like an ice thing, and then when it melts, there's a land underneath. Like that'd be cool flavor too.
For some reason, I thought it was, and I don't know why, but yeah, it just made perfect sense to me to make a snow fetch that you could play in every deck, and then you can play that alongside your Scalding Tarns, your Misty Rainforest.
Yeah, would have been cool.
Man, I'd really love a snow basic right now.
But we might get some more snow stuff.
I'd really love to sit here with my Snowland.
Yeah, being relevant while it's relevant, and now and then cash it in when you need
other fetches. Yeah, I'm using other fetches in the meantime to go get my shocks.
Yep.
And then I've got this snow fetch just sitting here being a snow thing until I need it.
Yeah, that's kind of cool. Yeah, well, let's get into that then. So I've picked 5 cards, you've picked 5 cards. Some of them we've spoken about, some of them we haven't. But these are basically the cards that we're most excited about, not just for Modern, but from this set. Most of mine are for Modern. I think a couple of yours are Commander related.
Avid Commander player, so yeah.
But that's fine. I mean, this set is huge for that format as well.
I like to think that it's a little bit of a taste for what's coming in Commander. I think it's 2020.
It'd be 2019.
It is 2019. Wasn't 2019 the one I complained about so much?
No, that was 2018. The one with the best card ever, Lord Windgrace. That was 2019. No, 2018. It's 2018. There is no 2019 yet.
That's right. It's the core sets that are a year ahead.
It's something to do with marketing, apparently, because the Commander product sells out pretty quick. It sells out in the year of 2019, whereas the core sets and whatever, they stay in standard for a year and a half, or whatever it is. So 2020, which is coming out soon, would be on the shelves in 2021. And then that just gets confusing for people. Or sorry, if it was marked the way it would be. So if it was if they called it 2019 next year while it's still in standard, it'd be on the shelf saying 2019, and people are like, well, I don't want to buy this because it's not new, it's last year's product. Whereas they do it this way, you see it on the shelf in February, and you're like, oh, okay, it's 2020. This is obviously relevant. So it's a good thing for new players to be able to access that and understand that that's still current.
I think it's also because I don't know if you've noticed this, but I've found that a lot of the time the core set doesn't really start to kick in until the rotation happens of the sets prior to it.
Of course, yeah, because it's generally a lower power level because it's like an entry level set. That combined with the fact if you have a big card pool and you add cards to it, it's harder for those cards to impact that format. Whereas if you have a small card pool and you inject a lot of cards, they will take over.
Unless you're War of the Spark.
Yeah, right. And stuff like Merfolk that never really had an impact in standard, that were like, it's got all the pieces, but it's just missing like 1 or 2 cards. It's sort of like when the breeding pools come in, maybe this deck gets better. But again, it just doesn't have the power level to push through at the moment. It really needs a card like Lord of Atlantis to get printed in M20, or I don't know, it's just something a little bit more to push it, because everything is there. The mana base is great now, and you got a bunch of relevant pieces. They just need something like that to sort of push it. Yeah. Or a Jitte.
I'm very curious about why there was no like proper Merfolk in this set, because Merfolk is struggling at the moment.
Well, they got
They've got this slot that is always changing. Sometimes it's Mero Regery. I've seen some people use
for modern, right?
Thassa. Yeah,
Yep.
I've seen some people use Thassa. I've just completely sidetracked over to modern.
Yeah.
That set that we are talking about.
Fine, I guess. I don't know. I think the deck's fine. Like, I don't think it was. It's not like it's falling behind. It's more so that like it's never been a super popular deck to begin with. So to put up results, somebody then has to choose to play that deck over something else. And I still think it's fine. Like, you can still outfit it with the tools necessary to compete. I remember watching over the last couple of months. I remember watching somebody playing in a PTQ style event in the top 8 of that with a Merfolk list, and they ran 4 copies of Surgical in the main board. Right, and that was how they were competing with the unfair stuff that was going on, and then providing a clock. Like, that's the biggest thing, is you disrupt your opponent with a clock and you just tear them apart. And like, that combined with Wastelands in the main deck, not Wastelands, sorry, Ghost Quarters in the main deck, just destroyed opponents. So like, the deck still is there, and there's a lot you can do with it. It just, I know what you're saying, like in terms of lacking, a couple of pieces or whatever. Interestingly enough,
in terms of the Aether Vial playing tribal aggro deck, humans really knocked it down a few pegs, and then recently Bant Spirits and decks of that nature, like Spirits as a tribal deck, have made it even more difficult. Things like the London Mulligan and various combo decks becoming a lot more powerful have made fair aggro decks start to have a hard time. I just worry that with Slivers coming into modern with some of the support cards that Sliver has, if Slivers
might push them further down. I don't think we got enough for Slivers to make it relevant in modern yet. I still think the key pieces that make humans good, Slivers don't have access to. So unless we see, because we just got a bunch of Slivers, and it's kind of like they wanted to put it into modern, I could still see M20 having, a couple of rare Slivers, maybe one more special Sliver land or something in it, similar to what we got in like M15 and M14. I could see them doing that in that set and just being like, look, here's 10 more Slivers. Also, one of them is, that hand disruption early game Sliver that you guys need to really push forward in modern. Maybe that's asking too much, but I don't think it's going to be viable in modern without a piece like that. Yeah, they did get some good stuff, but I still don't think it's strong enough. Like, you just play humans. Humans is just better. All right, well, let's kick things off then with Archmage's Charm. So it's blue for an instant. Counter target spell. Target player draws 2 cards, or gain control of target non-land permanent with converted mana cost 1 or less. So yeah, I the more I look at it, the more I like it. It is very heavy, like mana intensive. This is not going in 3-color decks, I don't think. Not if you reliably want to cast it. Like, Cryptic Command's hard enough as it is. This is that, but you have having the option to cast on turn 3 is good, right? Not being able to is bad.
I think what's going to be most interesting to see is whether this goes alongside or instead of Cryptic Command.
Oh, I want to run 4 of both. Or maybe 3 Cryptics and 4 of this, or something like that. But I want to run both of them. I think they're both awesome. It's just a lot of blue. Maybe
just like mono blue Delver.
Maybe, but
just mono blue Delver. You play your Delver on turn 1.
Like Terramander on turn 1. That's just a better Delver now, right? I don't want to play I don't want to play Delver now. Terramander exists, but yeah, you have Delvers and Terramanders and this card and Spell Snares and a whole bunch of. I don't know. Do you run like the blue deck in Standard where they run the Charter Course and
Tempest Gin?
Maybe not Tempest Gin, but like Charter Course that style. What's the enchantment? The Curiosity that +1/+1.
Curious Obsession.
That card. Imagine that. You go Terramander on 1, that on turn 2 with a Spell Pierce. And then on turn 3, you hold this
up.
What
are we playing? Standard?
Yep, and then you destroy them, right? Like, that's, because then you get better. You get Opt, obviously, which you've always had, but you get Serum Visions, you get Sleight of Hand if that's what you want. There's a lot of options for that deck to really churn through their deck. Thought Scour, when you're trying to fuel a Terramander. Not bad.
And then when you untap on turn 3, the game is just yours.
Yeah, pretty much, because now you have this or Click or whatever you want.
You can hard cast Force of Negations if you so wish.
Oh, yeah,
you can free cast Force of Negations if you so wish. You can hold up Archmage's Charm to take a faster, more aggressive deck's little dude that's trying to get around you, your big curious boy. You can up Archmage's Charm to counter a creature spell. If they don't cast anything that you need to counter or anything
You
that
just
you
draw
need
2
to answer
cards.
for whatever reason, you just draw 2 cards.
And you're up a card too, and that's a deck that loves to be up a card. Anybody who's running
Yeah.
Force of Negation, they want to be up. Like, they want to be up cards.
And then
right?
you untap on turn 4, you play your 4th land, and now you're representing Cryptic Command. I can get behind your idea. I think that's whoa.
Like, just something a little bit different. Like, obviously,
Yeah,
like, this
I
deck can
think
go
you're onto
into...
something.
Yeah, you got Blue-White Control or a Miracle-style deck, or you've got, like, Blue Moon or whatever. Sure, this can go in there, and that's fine. But maybe in a deck like that can use all the modes a bit more efficiently. Like, if you're playing that Tempo deck and you take their 1-drop, like, now you can suit that up with an Obsession and start going to town too. Like, I don't know. Like, there's no reason you can't do that in a deck that wants this. So, I don't know. I think this could create, some new interesting places. But, yeah, like, those blue control decks are all going to want this. I think this card's great. And they're definitely going to be playing it in conjunction with Force of Negation, right? So that was another one that was on my list of cards that I think is very impactful. The same decks that we just spoke about probably want this. Probably more so in that tempo. Like, if you have a tempo Delver style deck that can actually gain proper card advantage and, draw cards with things like the Charm, draw cards with things like Curious Obsession or whatever, this is a card that I could see them, happily to throw around and not worrying too much about the cost of losing 2 cards because they just keep refilling, right? That's the biggest drawback with cards like Force of Will is that, yeah, it's cool that you can have a turn 0 answer to something that you normally wouldn't, but then you're starting the game with 2 less cards in hand. It's like you had a mulligan essentially. And that's a real thing.
I'm envisioning your opponent's face when on turn 1 you play Prismatic Vista, you crack it, you fetch it, you go get an island or a snow-covered island, and then you cast a Terramander. And you say, and they're just,
what is going on? Yeah, you got 1 turn to answer this, or it's gonna kill you, right? Like that's kind of. I mean, that's what it does in standard, but now it's got this backing it up as well. So
yeah, like the standard rotation when standard rotates and most of mono blue tempo comes out of rotation, and people have that thing of what's modern, like maybe I can play this deck in modern. What if you can now? What if you can actually do that
when you add in Vanilla Clicks and the Romance or whatever sort of cards you're going to run with this? I don't know, but yeah, so Force of Negation by itself again, so like, yeah, that's a deck that definitely wants it and can really like deal with the drawback of losing 2 cards. But like, all right, control decks and other combo decks and whatever are probably still going to want this to fight other combo decks and make sure they don't lose to them, even though, I don't know if you main deck this in a blue-white control deck. I don't think you would. Same with something like Blue Moon. You're probably not running these in the main board. I think it's probably more of a sideboard card for when stuff gets really unfair.
I don't think there's anything wrong with just losing to a deck out of nowhere by surprise and then going, that's all right, I'll just go to my board and pull 3 of these out and get rid of a bad spell instead.
Yeah, I think that's totally acceptable to do that in those decks. This card is going to be huge. There's not a lot more we do need to say about it, but I just thought I'd bring it up because it does relate to that one and our next card, which is Fluster Storm. So we mentioned it briefly when it was spoiled as the buyer box promo. This is pretty interesting because this card isn't in the set, so the only way you can get your hands on this new artwork is to actually buy a box. But there are plenty of copies floating around.
Real old packs.
Or you could, crack some, Iconic Masters or Commander 2013. They're the only other printings, along with the Judge promo, which that's even harder to get, right? Yeah. But this is a card that I'm happy about main decking, like in a control style blue-white deck or whatever it may be, maybe even Blue Moon. I'll run 2 of these, like, and not be
I think
ashamed.
It's fine to main deck this.
Like, there's enough targets for it in the game. Like, modern is the things that are powerful tend to be spells and more instants and sorceries, and this hits those, right? Like, it's in a counterspell battle. This is fantastic because it's better than counter unless they pay X, where X is a large number because now they can't just counter that with 1 spell. So against other counter magic, spitting out like 3 little counter spells tends to be better.
This could replace is it Logic Knot?
It could replace a copy or 2 of. I think Logic Knot you still kind of have to run because it is just your counter spell, like it is counter spell in this format. But like I've seen lists that run like negates and things like that, and you could definitely put that in this. Or maybe you cut one of the main board negates, you cut one of the Logic Knots for this, and I've had no problems like playing this in the main board in Legacy, where there is a lot of scary spells that float around, and Modern is really not that much different.
I love this just ending counterspell wars.
But this ends it, right? Like this just comes down and says, "No, we're done."
Left with the blue up. If you're left with the 1 blue up, and you just bam, Fluster Storm. That's it. No more.
Yeah. No, I think it's great. Those same decks are going to want it. Sideboard, sure, against Storm if Storm is still a thing. I don't know if it will be. It seems to have gotten hit pretty hard, but, that's fine. I think we have quite a powerful card here anyway, and I'll also be keen to jam a couple of these in a deck. Alright, so we can look at... We have another couple of blue cards on this list. While we're doing blue things, let's continue with the blue things.
Blue things.
So you had Echo of Eons.
Yes, this is...
6 mana, man. It's pretty expensive.
It's a real big throwback. So we've seen in the past there are cards that have been printed that are, let's call them knockoffs, Power 9 cards. And these include things such as Lotus Bloom being a Black Lotus that you can't cast.
Yep.
Same for Ancestral Visions being an Ancestral Recall that you can't cast normally, like you suspend these cards.
Yep.
Or if you happen to be a fancy man, you
cascade
into it, you Electro Dominance it, you As Foretold it, and they're all beautiful things that you can do. Then they printed cards like Time Spiral, and there's some other versions of cards like like Days Undoing, cards that harken back to Time Twister. This is also like Time Twister, but I don't think you're ever playing this from your hand.
No, it's 6 mana, right? So that's pretty pricey for what you're...
Time Twister.
Yeah, right? So that's the real mana cost is down here. So yeah, this is a throwback to Time Twister, which is a Power 9 card. It's also a reserve list card, so, it's one of the more ridiculous things that have been printed in the past. So it's just 3 mana, get a new hand, basically. Now, it's a symmetrical effect, so these tend to be worse than other ways of drawing a lot of cards, because yes, your opponent gets to do it too, but if your opponent's sculpting a certain hand and you make them shuffle it away and draw something else, that can hurt them a little bit. The other thing is, the biggest problem with these, generally when they do the knockoff versions, is they do cost, 6 mana like Echo of Eons.
An arm and a leg, yeah.
Yeah, right, and so the last thing you want to do is pay 6 mana, tap out, do this thing, and then go, your turn, you get a brand new grip to play with first. Like, that's the detriment of this.
Yeah, you're starting the game, and if you're against aggro, you're starting the game again at a lower life total.
Yeah, and they get to have the initiative, and that's why Time Twister is so good, because it costs 3. Now, this being flashback for 3, that's essentially its casting cost, right? So we're gonna just find ways to bin this and then go off, I guess.
Yeah, you Faithless Lootings.
Yep. Thought Scour.
I don't think I'm above keeping if I know I'm playing against a Thoughtseize effect heavy deck, I don't think I'm above just keeping 6 land in this.
I probably am.
And then on turn 1, they just play the Thoughtseize and go, yeah, have this.
It's reasonable, right? Like, you're getting a new grip. Casting this on 3 is a lot worse so than, say, casting it on 5 or 6 when you have more mana to do things.
Yeah.
That's a big problem. I think it's good, but I think it needs to go, you're not doing this for value. You're not just like, all right, time to get a new hand. I don't like it there. I do like it in a deck that can abuse it, so something like Storm. Now, we said that they got hit pretty hard. This is a pretty nice pickup for a deck like that, just to, go off and then be like, okay, well, now this thing, shuffle everything back in, draw a new hand, I've got a bunch of mana, we're going to keep going. Shuffling in isn't great, but, I think if you're going off, this is, they're sort of like a graveyard deck themselves, and it might be something there. Or, alternatively, it just creates a whole new archetype, just thought it was a cool card.
It's also good to pitch to a Faithless Looting.
Oh, of course, yeah, right.
When you start to run out of cards and you just want a nice fresh reset.
Yeah.
If you're ahead on board,
yeah,
I like it. I like it if you're ahead on board, because then you're giving your opponent a fresh grip. You're getting a fresh grip. Where's the only other place you can be ahead? On board.
Yeah. So does that Delver Tempo deck want this? Do they Thought Scour
possibly.
this away and then, play a bunch of stuff out, pitch their hands to their forces, and then on turn 3 they cast, or turn 4 they play this, and hit you with the Terramander.
Let's just go deep and play Charter Course.
Well, yeah, right. That's legit.
Play as many of these old cards as we can.
Well, Charter Course, Charter Course is a fantastic card. Again, purely because it's a 1 card that draws 2 cards, right? You don't get a lot of that in the older formats. I've seen Charter Course popping up in legacy decks, because pure card advantage like that in that format is so rare, right? Like predict in Miracles, when when that started getting played, was huge, because you could just predict, you knew it was on top, so predict just became draw 2 cards for 2 mana, which it's so weird when you think about Standard, where people were Sphinx's Revelations and all those big draw spells. In Legacy, just being able to draw and go up 1 card was such a big deal, because people would just run out of gas, and that's how the games were sort of decided. So yeah, I you have Charter Course, early game you discard, late game you just draw 2 cards, then you have this to refill. Like I think that might be a cool place for it, and just play powerful things. Yeah, I don't hate that. I'd definitely love to try that deck out for sure. I think it's like cool.
I also think it goes very well with Seasoned Pyromancer.
Pyromancer,
which we can talk a little bit more about. I think
I'll pull that one up
we
now.
planned on talking some more about Seasoned Pyromancer and various applications with it, which we were having a hard time figuring out the first time we talked about it, and then
the more we talked about it, the easier it got. It's just like, oh right, this goes into Phoenix, and this brings back Mardu Pyromancer. You can discard an Echo of Eons with it. Yeah, okay, that's also up there, right? That's a whole new deck though. That's something else. That's like a blue-red. Is it like, does Phoenix want this? Because Phoenix doesn't want to be shuffling stuff away. They want, I guess if the Phoenixes come out, they don't care, right?
Yeah, like second main phase. So you bring out your Phoenixes, and then second main phase you flashback Echo of Eons.
Yeah.
You're probably using all of your mana to cast the 3 to get to Phoenix.
Yeah, right.
In the early game, I talked though about board position. So if you're going to flash this back, if you're going to cast this, and you want to then be ahead on board, what if this was your 4th spell after putting down Thing in the Ice?
Yeah, that's huge board position, right? Like that.
You flashback Echo of Eons. You say trigger, flip Thing in the Ice,
bounce everything,
bounce all your things back to your hand.
Yep, shuffle them away.
Shuff.
Yeah. That I really like.
You don't have any dudes on board, and I have flipped Thing in the Ice that I can't remember the name of.
And a full a working horror. Yeah, you've got that in play. You've got a new grip. They've just drawn and shuffled them all. They've picked up and shuffled all their dudes away. That's pretty good. And Seasoned Pyromancer, like that's a that's it.
Boy.
But this is a card that gets you there too, right? When you're discarding, because obviously this card wants you to discard non-lands, which look, you're going to discard lands some number of the times because you just want a better hand. But I mean, Echo of Eons is a pretty good card to discard to Pyromancer to make some elementals, right? So I'm all about discarding flashback cards in a deck like that, or relevant effects like a Phoenix is obviously a non-land card as well. So yeah, you discard a Phoenix in one of these, then next turn you get them all back or whatever it may be. Yeah, that's pretty good. Now obviously
you've got the option to exile Seasoned Pyromancer from your graveyard later on.
I don't think it's ever happening. I don't think like that's so rare, right? That's going to happen.
Grind your matchups, Jund.
I think I'd rather shuffle it back in, to be honest, with the Echo of Eons, so I can play it again.
I don't know. Like you exile it, you flash back your Echo of Eons. You've now put less cards back into your deck when you draw your 7.
But this isn't a bad card to draw, right? I think it's a good one. This is one of the ones you want to be drawing because it's proactive. I'm now just really reaching for how many reasons I love these kinds of cards. Yeah, that's just that extra ability is just bonus, right? Like that's like, okay, this card is already great. Like they could have printed it without that second ability, and this card would still be awesome. So yeah. Also, look, it's a grown-up Pyromancer. I didn't really notice that the first time I looked at it, but it is young Pyromancer all grown up. So that's also pretty sweet. You can tell because he still hasn't figured out how to button up his shirt.
He's had some lessons. He's
not in shirt buttoning though. No.
No, not in shirt.
But why would you when you look that good? So. So you like Mirrodin?
I do like Mirrodin.
And the besieging thereof.
The besieging thereof.
And look, it's got a card now.
Was the standard set that I started playing Magic.
So this is like a nice little throwback for you. Well, does it live up to your expectations?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's a great card. I'm probably looking at it more for an EDH perspective than for a modern perspective.
Yeah, right.
I don't totally know where you could put this. Like I've talked a lot about Lantern playing Stream of Thought. Maybe they can also play this.
This would be dope in that deck, right? Mirror and then just start making an army. On your turn, you hit them with a bunch of 1/1s. On their turn, you have an empty hand, so they can't attack through your bridge. Like, done. Well, the other thing Lantern could do is name Phyrexian, right? Like, they're milling themselves as much as they mill you, and they run a lot of artifacts.
probably much more likely of what they're going to name, yeah.
But the fact that you can choose both, like, hey, I'm getting beat down. I'm going to play this name Mirror and cast a couple of free artifacts and just use them to block, and then now pick these things up, put them back down, whatever they do. That can stall a game out long enough that when they hit the second copy of this or their normal win condition, they can kill you that way as well. So I actually like both sides of this in that deck. I think that's kind of sweet. I don't think it's something that Affinity would want because they can't actively fill the yard for the second ability, and a bunch of 1/1s kind of don't matter in that deck. Like what they do is already more powerful than that. But yeah, in a commander sense, like, or a commander scenario.
If you tap a Steel Overseer and you make all those Mirror a little bit bigger.
Yeah, like that's the best thing you can do, and that even that
you
is
got
just
targets for your plating.
It's just not that great.
I'm reaching.
Yeah, it sucks.
A lot.
Nah, it sucks. But it sucks there, right? Like, but yeah, Lantern is a great home for this. I'd love to see that. But yes, in Commander, it's good. You know, there's going to be decks that want it. I mean, the Commander thing for a lot of these cards is basically when you want this, right? Like, if you immediately saw this card and jumped up and down when you saw it, you're probably going to put it in your Commander deck.
Yep.
Cool. All right, Dead of Winter is next. Oh, we're so close. This is the card that, it's so good, right? But specifically good in a certain archetype that may or may not yet exist. Whether a sub-snow theme is something you can just jam into any old deck is yet to be seen, because the snow cards that we have so far are kind of specific, and the snow deck that actually exists is red. So they're not probably going to play this, but, I was talking about that Sultai deck with my Sneck, the Flying Sneck, and the Fallen Shinobi and whatever. Here's something else for that deck. Now, I don't know if this is initially going to be something that's going to get picked up, but, again, if we, in the future, get Snow Duels and a couple of other, Snow support pieces, this card could be incredible.
It could be absolutely amazing.
And so you play it in a Planeswalker deck or a Snow Creature deck if there are, good enough Snow Creatures, and then you're just like, cool, this is just Plague Wind now, right? And that's great. Yeah. For 3 mana. I'm excited for it. I really like this card. I will definitely be trying to play it as much as I can to varying levels of success, I'm sure. But Standard has shown us that those sort of decks can exist. Now, with the implementation of all the new Planeswalkers and whatever, we're seeing a lot less creature-based threat, now more Planeswalker-based threat in Standard. And it's really changed that metagame a fair bit, just in the way games play out because of the different permanents that are now relevant. So if we saw something like that going into Modern, then, a card like this, is quite good, especially if you're not running creatures. And it's cheap, like, it's only 1 black as well.
If you wanted to really punish someone for playing creatures, like this is the way to do it.
Oh, for sure, right? Like, I think this is great. I mean, keep in mind, the other thing that's kind of cool is, like, you could play this in, like, a Pox-style 8-rack deck. Because, they run a lot of swamp, like just basic swamp, so they can have access to the snow swamps, right?
We can just swap out to snow swamps and play that,
And that's I didn't think
about that at all.
And that's not a deck that plays a lot of creatures, and there is a creature that did get printed in the new set, or reprinted, which was the Nether Spirit, which is definitely a card that sort of deck is interested and has been interested in the past, because if you run that as your only creatures, and it dies, it just comes back, and then, so on and so on, or whatever. That's actually just fine for that sort of deck. Or, if you're playing Bloodghast or whatever it may be, but if you want a recursive threat, then it kind of doesn't care about this because it just comes back anyway. So that's another place I could see this.
Am I right in assuming that if you have 2 Nether Spirits in your bin, neither of them come back?
That's correct, yeah.
Okay.
So you got to be careful. Like, I've played it before, and I've played 2.
Rough.
Yeah, look, you just got to hold on to it at that point then. But if one's in play and one's in the bin, it comes back. So as long as they die independently.
If you can just keep your opponent's board down to 1 creature, and he's just the hardest working blocker in the world.
Yep.
That's fine.
And look, I've definitely used it like that in the past. Like, and yeah, it definitely puts work in. So, but that's another place where I could see this going until we get more snow support, which I'm just gonna keep hoping for. Just keep hoping for
it. You're all about that snow life, aren't you?
Oh, it's so good,
really
frosty. So, have you heard about Yawgmoth?
Have I heard about Yawgmoth?
The Thran Physician.
I know all sorts of things about the wondrous, horrible individual that is Yawgmoth. I gotta say, it's about damn time that they put him on an actual card.
We've had his will.
Thank you.
We've had his bargain.
But fire, like the confusion that went around about his art, like there was a card that came out a long time ago called Yawgmoth Demon.
Okay,
And
right.
people thought it was Yawgmoth as a demon, and
Oh,
there was
okay, right.
about what his art was, and then it was in some D&D book, and then that legendary sorcery came out in
The
Dominaria.
final bargain, yeah.
There's been all sorts of things. People are like, come on, can we
Let's just see him, right? Let's just get him.
just give us a card. Just give us a bloody card.
Well,
mate."
here he is.
And here he is. And I'm not disappointed.
No, I think it's great. I think, it's
Oh.
it's a fine card. It's statted quite well. Protection from humans is actually like super relevant in Modern right now.
It's not bad. A 2/4 body, like
Yeah.
being evasive to bolts.
Yeah, and it's got a great way to deal with those small pesky human creatures too, right? And
It blocks so much.
it definitely asks for a specific deck again, like that black discard a card proliferate. That is asking you to do a certain thing. Obviously, discarding a card proliferates at real cost.
You pitch a card, now you're Davrieling forever.
But yeah, like I don't know, this card's kind of sweet. It's relevant body, relevant effects. I don't hate it.
I love it. I love its applications with undying creatures.
Oh yeah,
which haven't seen a whole lot of play, but I was a big
Giraffe's
fan
Messenger.
of Giraffe's Messenger. I was a big fan of Giraffe's Messenger, and I got sad when I got into Modern and realized that he didn't really see any more play after he rotated out of Standard. But I like to think that old Yorgi boy over here is gonna bring him back with a vengeance. This and any other undying creature.
You need two, right?
You need two undying creatures.
Yeah.
Pay a life, sack a creature that's probably going to come back to draw a card. Like that is so
close
because
you have the
Yawgmoth's
creature
bargain.
Yeah,
which is banned in formats for a very good reason.
Yeah, that's fair.
And then your payoff is that you can then discard a card to proliferate. Like this can be kill a Giraffe's Messenger, bring him back. You take down a Kitchen Finks that's persisted.
Yep. Well, you can take down anything, right? And then you can proliferate to make your undying dude bigger again. Like
and
that's
then,
relevant too.
Yeah, and then you proliferate. If you're playing with Planeswalkers, you can proliferate them.
Yep.
You can make your Davriels bigger. You can make the Ashiels
Make your
bigger.
Davriels bigger. All right, where are you putting it? Where's it go?
Where's it go?
Where's it go?
I like it in the rack.
I don't. What else?
You don't like it in the rack?
I don't like it in the rack. I think it costs too much, and it's not like the whole point of that deck, or one of the key points of that deck is that you make their removal redundant, and this doesn't do that. You just play it, and they're like, "Oh, sweet, a target for this path to exile, or whatever it may be," and they just pop it, right? Because you don't really have anything else for them to target. I think it's a little clunky for that deck. What about Jund? Could Jund play this? Like Jund could maybe slot, a couple of copies of this in. They're definitely going to try it.
I was going to say next.
Okay, right. I'm definitely going to try it there for sure. Like that's where I'll give it a go.
He's very good in Jund.
All right. So let's go over to Shatter Assumptions. You had this on your list. I haven't actually read this card, so let's find out what it is together.
I
Great
really
artwork.
like.
All right, so 1 black for a sorcery. Choose one. Target opponent reveals their hand and discards all colorless non-land cards. Target opponent reveals their hand and discards all multicolored cards. Okay. So it's 3 mana. I mean, you can get a lot. You can also miss for 3 mana. You don't want to be missing. Was this against like Tron? You name colorless and strip them?
Yeah, I think you can play this again. Like obviously, this isn't a main board card.
No, definitely not.
I don't think it's a main board card.
Yep.
But I think this can really strip some hardcore value out of your opponent's game plan if you have a good understanding of what they're playing and what they're planning on doing and what sort of turns they're going to have the kinds of cards that they need.
Maybe against Tron, in a deck that can't deal with what they're doing.
My primary pick for this is against Tron.
I don't like sideboard cards that only hit one deck, though. I mean, I guess there's some crossover, but if you're bringing it in to get one, like if you 1-for-1 them from their hand for 3 mana with this, like that's not a winning play, right? You want to be hitting at least 2 cards with it before you kind of break even on what you're doing. Or, it's so impactful against Tron where you're just like, yeah, they get their second Tron land down, you untap, and then you get Khan and Ugin and a map, and, that's huge there.
Yeah.
Maybe it's powerful enough that it's okay to bring it in that matchup, so... But yeah, it's definitely a unique effect. Like that's a big, we don't get a lot of mass discard like that. And if you can just strip a whole hand, you're definitely getting your money's worth. That's for sure.
I also think this will be a really good hate piece against Slivers. Because they
got a lot of multicolored stuff.
Are
right?
actually multicolored.
Yeah, that's pretty good. How about if it follows a Cabal Therapist?
Oh yes, it could be very good following a Cabal Therapist.
or a Cabal Therapist following it is probably better. Once you know what's in there. But yeah, either way.
Either way, like they're both great following Inquisition of Kozilek or Thoughtseize. I just think that it'd be really good if you don't have to 1-for-1 with these
you have to hit multiple cards.
This gives you the ability to do that.
Of course, so you're spending 3 mana. That's the only drawback I see. If it was like black or whatever, I'd be a bit more on board. But I think 3 is a little expensive. All right, Cabal Therapist, I've got him up now. Like, we kind of missed this one because it came out very, very early, so we didn't really talk about it. I think this card's fantastic. It's... no, I think we skipped it. We skipped this and Sarah.
We skipped that and Sarah, yeah.
Yeah, but this effect is huge. So 1 mana, 1/1 menace. Like, so already, one of the biggest problems with your 1-drops is that if your opponent plays something that is also a creature, like a Tarmogoyf or whatever, it never gets through. This guy is always getting through. If you want, you have this access to this pretty powerful effect. So if you're in a Thoughtseize...
if you want to hit with him.
Yeah, right.
Just leave him back and just strip their hand with your...
Because he doesn't have to attack, right? It's at the beginning of your pre-combat main phase. So you don't even need to attack. It just happens. And if you've got tokens from like a Pyromancer, young or seasoned, if you've got one of those guys floating around spitting out tokens, well, now you can just go to town on their hand. And then, when you can punch through, like, it's only a little bit of damage, but it all adds up. Like, that's the biggest problem with Dark Confidant. Like, so many times I've played that card, and then it's just sat there because it can never get through. Menace is so good for pushing damage.
All he's doing is drawing you cards and paying you, and
which is great.
Requiring a hefty fine.
It always lands when I play him. It doesn't matter. But this guy, like, it reminds me a little bit of the what was the Dark Confidant from Standard? The Aether Thief or whatever it was. I can't remember what it was called. But it essentially it was a Dark Confidant where you paid energy to get the card.
Oh, okay.
But it had menace, right? So it was this 2 mana 2/1 that had menace. So it just meant that it generally always got through. And when it was time that your opponent needed to trade with it, they'd either have to trade 2 things or make bad blocks. So I liked that card for that part, and I like this card does a similar thing. And then it also has the Cabal Ritual. No, what's it called?
Therapy.
That's in the name. Yeah.
It's in the name.
But I like that this card's also got the Cabal Therapy attached to it. So, if you follow up a Thoughtseize or Inquisition, you can just start naming things. And if they have multiples of a card, oh boy, they're in trouble.
Yeah. This with things like Bloodghast.
Yep.
Nether Spirit.
Yeah, that we talked about before. Though I don't like playing Nether Spirit in a deck with other creatures, but anything that can return itself is very, very good. And tokens, obviously. Lingering Souls. Anything that can spit out a bunch of tokens.
I think Mardu Pyromancer is going to really enjoy that.
Yeah, I think that deck picks up a fair bit of stuff considering the Seasoned Pyromancer, this card, and the next card as well, which I think probably goes into that deck along with a few others as well. Caius Guy. This is one that you saw.
Very excited for this card.
So it's a charm, basically. Or, no, it's a command, right? Because you get to choose more than one.
It's a command.
It's basically the black-white command. So, choose 2. Each opponent sacrifices a creature. Fantastic. Exile all cards from each opponent's graveyard. Fantastic. Create a singular 1/1 black-white spirit with flying. That's fine. Gain 4 life. That's fine. And then it has Entwine for 3. So for 6 mana. And this is what's really cool, because on the Entwine cards we've seen up to this point, it's been, here's a thing or a thing, Entwine, you get both. This one's just like, Entwine, you get all 4.
Yeah. When I saw this, I went, wow, so for 3 mana, you can fight any strategy. Or for 6 mana, you can fight every strategy.
Yeah, pretty much. Like, if you can pay for it, this does it all, right?
And we said when we first noticed Goblin War Party, oh, look, Entwine's in this set.
Yeah.
What are some Entwine cards that they can print that'll be interesting?
Like, here, how about this?
Can't really think of any, but Tooth and Nail.
Check this out.
Yeah, this is incredible.
Well, it's cheap, right? I mean, that's my biggest concern, like, with cards that usually have Entwine. It's like, they're 11 mana to Entwine. It's like, cool. You'll probably win the game if you do it, but it's 11 mana. This thing's 3 mana, and you can just be like, all right, on turn 3, at the end of your turn, sacrifice this card you just played, and here's a threat. Sacrifice this card you just played, and goodbye graveyard. Which, because of the wording on the card, the way these cards work, that exiles the card that got sacked as well, right? Yeah. There's a lot going on here, and then obviously, you can make a spirit as well, which, this is a card that Pyromancer will probably love to get his hands on, purely because it's main deck graveyard hate, which in this format's super relevant. It's just another well-costed removal spell, and against the aggressive decks where they can struggle with their painful mana bases and whatever, like just gaining 4 life and making a blocker is sometimes relevant too.
And it's instant speed.
Yeah. This does it all.
Does everything.
What do you like better, this or Colligan's Command? Battle of the Best Charms. Which one do you like? Or best commands?
Battle of the Best Command. Yeah. I think I like this. I think they're very good friends, though.
Yeah, I don't mind playing them both at the same deck.
Colligan's Command takes a card out of their hand, and then you exile it with Caius Guy.
That's a good thing you can do with 6 mana. Just play both of them.
They sacrifice a creature and then you shoot the other one.
Yeah, command gets back your Snapcaster, so you can recast this with the Snapcaster from the K command.
Oh, stop it!
They all go. I mean, okay, that's some weird 4-color deck. Let's not go that deep. But yeah. Yeah, this is cool. I really like this card a lot. It does a lot of things. It has a home. And then, like, if black-white tokens, like, that's received a bunch of support from this set. They're going to play this too. If that's a deck, they're going to play this for sure. All right, so that is pretty much everything that I wanted to go through today. And I think that was also your list, right?
Yeah, that was my list as well. We had a lot of cards that we thought alike on, which is surprising. I think a good indicator of the power level of some of these cards.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that was pretty much our 10 most, I don't know, excited cards. The cards we're most excited about. The cards themselves aren't excited. Maybe they are. I don't know. If I was Caius Guy, I'd be pretty excited.
I don't know. Seasoned Pyromancer's got his shirt up and he is excited.
Ooh, I'm excited.
He's coming to the party and he's bringing some friends with him.
Oh, boy. Yep.
I'm sorry.
Yep.
To me. So I'm Nick Masoning this one.
Yeah, why not?
For bloody listening, subscribing, keeping the lights on in the studios.
Ooh, yeah, if the lights went on, you wouldn't be able to see my beautiful, beautiful face.
Go to our Patreon if you want to chuck in $1.
Oh, I need to get a Patreon so they can chuck in $1.
Oh, so many bucks.
Oh, one singular buck. No more than that or I'll send it back. All right, so that's about it. Or that's going to do it. All right. Yep. Fuck. What was that?
Nothing.
Goddamn right. All right, guys. So that's going to do it for this one. David, where can everybody find everything?
Thanks for watching and listening, or however method that you're taking this in.
I need to get these onto YouTube. Yeah, onto iTunes. Yes, that is a thing. People need to be able to listen and not just watch.
Maybe not iTunes.
Why not iTunes?
I'm seeing a lot, like they're clickbait articles, so they probably don't matter. But I'm seeing a lot of stuff about apparently iTunes is going to shut down.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm not putting it on iTunes then. Apple's done for. Everybody jump ship.
Podkicker, Podkicker.
That's whatever. Pod Stitcher. What do people podcast? Anyway, I'm gonna work on that.
Doing a podcast.
We're gonna get it on there too. But like, I don't know. You get to look at things here. It's way better. Beautiful audio visual medium.
You can see Seasoned Pyromancer's open shirt.
You can see the open shirt. All right, so yes, please like, subscribe, all that sort of stuff. If you like what we're talking about, jump in, have a comment. Always happy to discuss this stuff. Also, you can hit me up on Twitter at Deathrite Squid. Same with Twitch. I'm over there streaming MTG Arena and all the good stuff. I think that's about it, right? You haven't? Have you done your social media stuff yet?
No, I haven't done my social media stuff.
Okay, we're gonna get some social media stuff. So yeah, I'm Deathrite Squid. He's Caius Guy, and we'll catch you guys in the next video. You meant to say goodbye.
Do you want me to talk or do you not want me to talk? Pick one. Enjoy this set.